Now let's get back to the Horsemanship Challenge.
Now, as part of the Horsemanship Challenge, what we like to do is offer a challenge to our participants just to kind of motivate them a little bit to find something that they can offer to these horses that makes it a little better deal for the horse. Okay, so what I'm going to start with for you is your first challenge is we're going to see if we can help this horse slow down and relax while we've got him sped up a little bit without pulling on these reins. Now, what he's doing as he gets going and you set your hand down is typical of horses that have been where this horse has been. They've practiced the barrel racing, they've been competed on. The sport of barrel racing, we practice speed, 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 so we really get our horse good at speeding that motor up. But we hardly ever practice slowing the motor down. Now, I see barrel racers all the time practice slowing the feet down, but there's a big difference in between that horse's feet and his motor, okay? The RPM gauge on the inside. And what this horse shows us once he gets going, that RPM gauge really wants to rev up, and if we don't hold on to him, man, we get a lot of extra life. And then on the other side of that extra life, the reason I don't want that extra life in my horse is because when I try to pick my horse up and change what he's just done, then I get all kinds of things as I pick up on my bridle after he's sped up, okay? I need to be able to pick up on this horse at any speed and he just relax and give me total control of his body, so when I come into that first or second or even third barrel, he's not beating me going into the turn. So here's what I'd like to do. I brought out a bridle that is similar to the bridle you have, only there's this gag bit here versus I've just got a ring bit, just a ring snaffle. Now, all these bits are designed to do is teach our horse to bend from side to side, okay? But this is one of the easiest bridles to use to help motivate your horse to only give you the amount of life that you ask for. Now, the reason it works so good is because when we pull on both reins to slow our horse down with a bridle designed like this, just a ring snaffle, there's no leverage. So if our horse is really charged here, he's really got a lot of life, when we pick up on those reins, no one's home, okay? So that right there is the motivation towards us to figure out how to use this bridle different to help this horse find what we're asking him to do. Let's talk a little bit about this horse's body, how he's put together, and how I'm going to ask you to operate his body with this new bit to help this horse figure out how to slow his motor. Now, if I asked you, if we broke this horse into 4 parts, we'll throw his neck and his head in the same part. So we've got the head and the neck, we've got the shoulder, we've got the rib cage, and we've got the hindquarters. Of those 4, where would you say is my horse's accelerator? Where's all of his power come from? His hindquarters, of course. If we look at how these horses are made and how they travel, once they get going, you can see all the power that comes up back there in that hindquarters that actually drives that horse forward.
Right.
So here's his accelerator. So if we're thinking about our RPM gauge, just like our RPM gauge on our truck, if we think about what that RPM gauge does when we push on the accelerator and what that RPM gauge does when we let off the accelerator, then what we might find is there's places out here where our accelerator gets stuck and it holds that RPM gauge either at a certain spot or it just continues to speed up, okay? So I'm going to show you how to ride this horse in a manner that would be very similar to when you drive your truck down the road, you approach a stop sign, the first thing you do is you let off that accelerator. What's your truck do? It doesn't stop right there, but it loses its drive, and just the forward momentum that it has is the only thing that keeps it going forward. But once that momentum runs out, what happens to your truck? If the road's long enough and straight enough, you can be going 70 miles an hour, just take your foot off the accelerator and eventually will come to a stop. Okay, that's exactly how I want to approach my horse, because when I approach in that manner, then I'm saying to my horse, it's your responsibility to slow the motor down, not mine. I'm just going to put you in a position to where you feel as if I've taken my foot off the accelerator. Now, this is my accelerator, so this is the part that's very crucial to this whole exercise. I want to be able to control the hip enough that I can move the hip to the right or to the left. Now, as you're riding this horse around and we watch that horse engage his hip, he uses that hip to drive everything that's in front of that hip forward. Okay, so once that hip is engaged, all of this is going to go that direction. But if I can kick this hip either that direction or this direction, now what happens to my horse? As I'm standing here on the ground, I'm just going to walk around him here. I'm going to position him to where I send the hip at that angle where this stick is pointing. And you watch where the front of him goes. As I push the hip to the side, let's watch where the front of him goes. Now, here's what I want to see this horse do, Lisa. As I push this hip, if we truly get that hip to disengage, and I'm looking for a very specific step, and as I ask this horse to give me that step, then you'll see this horse throw some other steps in there where he's just basically trying to get away from me, okay? That specific step is if the hip is moving to the right, I want this left hind foot to cross in front of the right hind, okay? It has to cross this way, okay? Now, as I bring the nose to the left and I get the body bent to the left, I'm just going to grab a hold of my rein and I'm going to go ahead and grab this back billet just so I can hold this hand in one spot. I'm not pulling on my horse's head. I'm not pulling on his face. I'm just holding this spot right here to where he can bring me his nose a little further and find that release on the rein. Now I'm watching what the hind feet are doing. This leg here should reach right up here. Should reach there, there,
Right.
there. See, that forward motion is what I'm looking for to truly disengage the hip. So when I practice slowing my horse's motor, all I'm going to say to my horse is, when I get you in this position, I want to have the freedom to take the hip and disengage it to the right or to the left. And I'm going to hold you in this position until you give me that. Okay? So I'm not pushing. I'm not encouraging him to keep going. Basically, I just get him in that position where he's bent around my left leg. I ask the hip to disengage to the outside, to the right, and I just relax all the life and the energy in my body, and I wait for him to do the same. Okay? But that momentum, if that RPM gauge is sped up, you might find that that momentum carries him in several circles before those feet finally come to a rest. Okay? We'll check him out on this side.
Almighty.
Again, I'm just going to get short on my rein. I want to see the horse bend. If I was sitting on him, he'd be bending around my right leg right here. Now, as I get him bent and I start to disengage the hip, I need to make sure that my feet are mobile with his so he doesn't knock me over.
Right.
Now, I'm just going to apply some pressure. I can do it here. I can do it back here. I'm just going to get that hip to start to turn loose, and I'm going to see if he can take the right hind leg and cross right in there. Almost, well, so far every step this horse has taken, he's reached and crossed in front. There he stepped to the side. That step he went behind. See him step to the side, see him step to the rear right there. See, that foot I want to go here. When this foot goes back here, that means I don't have enough forward motion to carry it up here.
Right.
Okay, why is the forward motion important? That forward motion is important because it helps keep my horse level.
We'll be right back. Stay tuned.